So we have coffees.
Cheers.
Cortado, and you've got like this pumpkin spice chai.
Yes.
It's got to be really good.
Delicious.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So welcome to Brews and Business. Start off and tell me a little bit about your name, who you're with, and how you got here today.
Sure. My name is Dana Harris. Originally, I was Dana Belk Harris. So that means a lot to me. My family, growing up in Sapulpa, I think we had a really good name. So it was hard to leave that name. But yeah, so Dana Belk Harris, originally from Tulsa, born in Tulsa, lived in Sapulpa, went to Oklahoma State, go Cowboys. Interned there whenever, interned
We
there.
can both agree on the horns,
That's
though.
true. Well,
Okay.
honestly, I can get into that later because I worked for the sports office. So
Okay.
I have my feel of teams. So yeah, interned for the Oklahoma State, then went to New York and interned for the New York Mets. Yeah, lived in Tulsa after that. And so live in Bixby now.
Did you say you lived in New York?
I did live in
New
New
York
York when I
City?
interned. So I lived in Queens. Long story short, so when I was interning there, I knew that, I was planning to go into sports. And so had a internship with the Texas Rangers. And then a guy came in for the women's coordinator of sports. And he was like, he came from the Mets. He was like, hey, have you ever thought about going to New York? And I said, well, my entire family lives there. And he goes, well, I can, get you an interview with the New York Mets to see if you wanted to make a decision. So I interned with Vito. I forget his last name. And so just by phone. And he was like, if you're interested, come on up. So I did. So I flew out, which was crazy for me because my mom was really, really overprotective growing up, went to private schools and everything until the 10th grade. And so when I got to New York, I'm riding subways by myself and riding buses. And it was an experience, but it was probably what set my direction for a very long time. And I was kind of defined by that. They were like, aren't you the girl that interned for the Mets or worked for the Mets? And they didn't say intern. And I was like, yeah, that was me. So
That's
it was a
cool.
really, really good time. It was Old Che. It was the year that they played the Yankees in the World Series. So yeah, it was awesome.
I lived in Jersey City between Hoboken and Bayonne.
Nice.
For a little less than a year, but I worked in the tri-state areas. So,
Nice.
Yeah, a couple different agencies. That's where my background started.
Very good.
So that's cool.
Yeah, I was entertainment coordinator assistant, but then the guy left. So then I had to basically take over the reins. So I was, taking Mr. Met to ring the bell at the NASDAQ when that opened, all different places with different players. And then on the field, whenever they did national anthem and first pitch. So I was in charge of booking those and then taking the talent to the green room, recording segments with them, and then running around and doing game day experiences with the people.
So why did you come back to Tulsa from up there?
So that was the internship. They offered me the job to come back, but my dream was to work for the Lakers. So I was like, I'll be a shoo-in for that. And so in sports marketing, you basically have to start as an intern and work as an intern for several years until you get that position. Didn't really know that. So I came back, worked for a TV station, and I produced sports on the side. So whenever we had the Tulsa Talons and the Drillers and then some high school sports. So I did that. And then I met my husband. And then the rest is history. Then he said, well, yeah. And he said, no more sports.
No more sports.
No more sports.
So there's a lot of positions that are like that too, to where, you could have the experience, you could have the resume, the education, whatever, but you're not getting that position until someone leaves that position. But even then they're going to move somebody up the chain from there. So then if you join the organization, you're starting from the bottom.
Right. That's exactly how it is there. Yeah. So,
and now you're working with American Cancer Society.
I do.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
This is going on my 5th year for Cattle Barons and for ACS. So that's good. Made the move. So I was in banking for about 21 years after I left the TV station. So it was a really cool time, because it was when I started with a credit union, and credit unions were not community chartered. So I had no idea what a credit union was. And
What's that mean?
What a credit union?
No. Yeah. That and community chartered.
Yeah. So, okay. So that means you can serve anybody. So it opened its doors. So it used to be restricted and it was called seg based. So like when I was at Western Sun, you had to either work for Holly or Ball or different places like that. So it was based on where you worked. Tulsa teachers, you had to be a teacher or a student. So it was restricted. Well, Western Sun had just gotten their community charter, which opened it up based on different communities. So we had Tulsa County and we had Okmulgee County. So we had branches there. I think we had 3 branches. We had the Okmulgee one and then 2 in Tulsa. And so worked there, and they were like, they liked the fact that I had no idea what a credit union was. And so, I just took that and really educated the public what a credit union was, changed a lot of taglines. Sometimes, in marketing, people really kind of pigeonhole themselves because it was the credit union for families. I was like, well, you don't want to be the credit union for families. You want individuals and single people and people who don't have families. So, just changing that and changed the logos, changed everything, and then just really jumped into knowing like what each community needed, because everybody is different. And so Mulgi needed, loans not really based on what the rate was, but what the payment was. So that's how I advertised to the people in Okmulgee and Henrietta and that surrounding area. And then in Tulsa, it went in Bixby. They wanted to know what the rate was because they have the stellar credit scores, most stuff. So it's just knowing your audience and knowing how to market to them. So I did that for a long time, went to another bank because they were like, do for us what you did for Western Sun. So I went there, and then COVID hit and I had to work every day during COVID. And, my kids were home, had to hire tutors to help, because I had, what were they? They were in kindergarten or first grade. My youngest were in first grade. And then my oldest was in third grade. And so, my husband was trying to take care of the twins. And then my oldest, he was online. And so I was just like, there's got to be something better. Like, what am I doing here? Why am I working? Why am I going in? Because you're essential, But I was like, I'm not really that essential to business when I'm more essential to my kids learning right now. So I decided to leave. I was trying to get American Cancer Society to bank with us whenever I was there. So I reached out to one of the ladies, and honestly, it was just a God thing because I was like, I feel like I should reach out to Lisa. So I told her, I was like, hey, just want to let you know that I'm not going to be here at this bank anymore. And she goes, oh my gosh, Dana. She said, we just had a position open. She goes, I don't know if you'd be interested in it or not. And she goes, it's for planning Cattle Barons Ball. I was like, that sounds fantastic. I was like, and my mom lost her twin sister to breast cancer, and then her older sister also to cancer, and her brother to pancreatic cancer. So I was like, you know what? God forbid anything happens. It's an alignment. I'm like, I need to make change to what's happening. If I could leave a legacy, or if I can, make a change where my kids can look at me and say, you know what, she helped contribute to this, then that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
I believe too, like when the universe, God, whoever wants to call it, whatever it is, when those doors open and they just naturally open, it's almost like it's meant to be. Like you got to follow through it.
1,000%.
And I've always believed too, like if a door opens, it's at least worth exploring until it's shut.
Exactly.
And you'll know when it's shut.
Yeah.
It's like when you keep trying to open it, it's like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was funny, like whenever I don't like to leave things. Like I hated whenever I got rid of my first car. I was like, it was so loyal to me and it was faithful. Yeah. Leaving Western Sun was probably the hardest decision I ever made because I poured so much of my heart and soul into it. Like, everybody was like, you are Western Sun. And it's kind of cool when you basically represent the brand. Like when you walk into a room and someone's like, oh, Western Sun's here, and it's just like, so it was really, really hard to leave, but I knew it was the next step. Otherwise, I didn't think that I wanted to be a president of a credit union. And that was my next step in that position.
Yeah.
So, I was like holding back, and basically I was on like when the bank was trying to get me, I was sitting in the Target parking lot. I had no idea what I was going to do, what decision. And a song came on the radio. It was on, and I never listened to, what's that Christian station, but streaming, Air One. And it was like, what is it? Go forward, don't look back. And I was like, okay, God, I think you're telling me to take that other job. So I did. Anyway, I mean, it was good. And it's what led me to my next job at ACS.
Did you have any prior? So yeah, while being in marketing or advertising, that's more of like an umbrella statement thing. So, but
right.
did you have any like particular experience with events, fundraising, nonprofit, and stuff like that up until that point?
So credit unions are nonprofit or not for profit. So everything that they make in like revenue, they return to the members in form of dividends and lower interest rates. So it was kind of that connection. Event wise, I did, our annual meeting. And so whenever I started, they used to have it in the coffee room and they would have like 10 people go. And I turned it into a huge event, bingo night. And so we'd have 500 plus attend. Even when I left, they were like, we can't do bingo without you. Like, will you please come back? And I was like, okay. So I was like, hey guys, I'm back.
I'm here, but I'm not here.
Exactly. It was crazy.
I'm just here for the bingo.
Exactly. Yeah, it really was. So it was pretty fun. But so, that was basically my event planning. I did do golf tournaments whenever I was at American Cancer, or not American Cancer, when I was at Western Sun. So we did that because I worked with the Children's Miracle Network and we raised money for them. So that was our charity of choice. So I had that connection too and, planning. So yeah.
So you're at Western Sun about 2014, 15, 16, right?
Oh God, numbers are bad for me. Yeah.
It was about 10 years ago.
Well, no.
No?
I was there. I don't even want to say how old I am. So I think I started at Western Sun. I know, right? My birthday is on Valentine's Day. So
happy birthday.
Thank you.
It's tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, Saturday.
Nope, Saturday. Yep.
Saturday. So no, I think it was like 2002-ish.
Okay.
Like a long time ago. Because I worked for Western Sun for like 17 and a half years. I worked for Yorktown Bank for 4, and I've been at ACS 5.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah.
I was thinking in my mind, I was like, that time, I think I mentioned to you, like, I tried to chase Western Sun for marketing for their business for a while, but that would have been 2014-ish time frame.
Yeah.
So if you weren't there, then I probably wasn't you.
I was still there.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, if I started in 2002.
Oh, yeah.
And that's 17, so that'd be 19.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet you we crossed paths sooner or later.
I know.
How has Cattle Barons Ball? We can touch base on that a little bit too. So, like, tell me a little bit about what it was like starting that, getting into that, because you started it here in Tulsa. It's not a brand new thing because there's Dallas and Oklahoma City and some other places I think around the country too that do cattle barons. It's a themed thing for American Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you took the reins and started the Tulsa one that they gave you, right?
Well,
because they didn't do a Cattle Barons for Tulsa?
They did have a Cattle Barons before me. So this will be our 20th year, Cattle Barons Ball. So when I went, it was the year right after COVID. No, sorry. They had one after COVID, which they did in the outdoor movie theater. They had it out there because
it was
yes.
Okay.
And so it was pretty cool because I was looking through. I didn't get a lot of information when I started, but they had like the sponsors in different spots. And so they put the numbers. So they had like a movie and then they did singing or something like that. But so that was basically it. But they still wanted, to have some type of fundraiser. So they didn't want it to stop. But the year that I started, it was at Osage Casino. And so I started in August, and I think the event was in October. And they were like, just hover, just kind of see, what's going on.
Was it already established and still kind of running at that point? Or did they just like drop you and say, all right, we only have the venue?
Well, no, it was established and it was done. So they were like, I think I had like a month that I was there. And they were like, just hover, And so I got in there. They were like, they were really specific. They were like, you cannot do anything and make decisions till you're done with onboarding. And I was like, okay. So I was there and looking at everything. I'm like, okay, where's your signage? Just asking Lisa, the woman who hired me. And she was like, oh, we don't have any signage yet. And I'm like, do you mind if I go ahead and create your signage? And she was like, okay. And so then like asking about sponsors, and they only had about 100 people to attend. And I was like, okay, how many people can the venue hold? They're like about 300. I'm like, do you care if we just start giving some tickets away or calling people and saying, hey, can we get some, people there to at least participate in the auction and stuff.
At
She's
that
like,
point,
oh,
you
yeah.
need butts in the seat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, when I walked in, I was like, oh my God, what did I come into? Because I was thinking this was an established Dallas type of cattle
Usually you
barons.
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was chicken on a plate and not very many people. And the auction was just kind of in the back of the casino. And I was like, okay. And, Osage was great to sponsor it, but it wasn't really the right venue for a Cancer Society event. So trying to even get there, I was like, well, we can't have everybody walk through the casino. We, again, it's a smoking venue. I was like, so let's have them go around the back. So I was like, we need to make some changes. So the very next day, I flew out to the San Antonio Cattle Barons Ball, and it was fantastic. It was an outdoor event. They had a band called Kinfo playing. A fiddler, he was insane, and I love a good country fiddle. So after he got done playing, they had several bands. I went up to him and I was like, hey, would you come up to Tulsa to do Cattle Barons Ball next year? And he was like, 1,000%. I'm like, okay, let's get this party started. So I knew that in order to be really successful, we needed to be different. I mean, because Cattle Barons Ball is different. So reached out and found a venue. Tulsa, as great as we are, we're really, really limited in the venue space that we have for capacity like 500 and above. But went to 181 Ranch. That was out in Bixby. And, I was like, oh gosh, we got Tulsa Cattle Barons Ball in Bixby. I was like, you know what? We're just going to sell it. I mean, it's off Highway 75. We're good. So moved it to 181 Ranch, sold out our first year. We had 500 people, and I'm a big planner. And so, I had it figured out, like the square footage and the stage and all of the things that we could fit in. So that was fantastic. So we had Kinfo the first year. Second year, we had the Swan Brothers. Fantastic. Third year, I brought in Diamond Rio because, we're year after year.
Good band.
Thank you. They were fantastic. And with Diamond Rio, I ended up having to lose some of my table space because they had a bigger line for, the control area, what you worked for me for Cattle Barons Ball here. And so I was like, okay, I'm either going to have to raise prices or we're going to have to find another venue. So after looking at so many different places, I was like, you know what? Why don't we go to Expo Square? They have an arena.
Which I think was the best idea
Thank
ever.
you. It was scary, though. I will say it was really scary because, no one had ever done an event at the Ranger Arena at Expo Square. Never.
You're the first one.
Yes. And so they're like.
So even they had to figure out the whole ground situation was unique.
Yes. And so because everybody's done it in those other buildings, like where they have the ice capades and things like that.
And at least solid floors.
Yes, exactly. So we're like, okay, we're going to just spray those dirt floors and pack them in. Another thing that I do, which is I think really cool, and our guests love it too, is called stall crawl. And so that was one thing that at 181 Ranch, they had the stalls, but it was just like in a separate area. So you kind of had to go around the corner. So you lost being in the presence of where we were. And so at Ranger Arena, the stalls are inside. So
and facing towards the gathering, the main dining area.
Yes.
Which is great too.
Yeah. So everybody just, congregated, and then they can actually see too, like, what are those people over there doing? So it enabled us to sell, more opportunities to go to the stall crawl. So it was perfect. So it was a good move.
Describe it as like a horseshoe design for the event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so far as like traffic flow,
Yes.
Came in from top left of the horseshoe
Mm-hmm.
and gathered around. There's some auction stuff, some activities,
Mm-hmm.
right? For like photography or items. They gathered around some more. There's like a bar or two. And then you hit the stall crawl. And then if you wanted to continue up to the top right of the horseshoe, I think that was more or less empty space.
It was like staging
right?
and
Stage
stuff.
space,
Yeah.
which was okay. Like there wasn't a bunch of people, but it was great because you
Mm-hmm.
could also just cross right around back to the top left
Right.
of that. And so I feel like the traffic flow was
Mm-hmm.
great and nothing felt too tight.
Mm-hmm.
It felt open enough to where you did have 600?
640 people.
Yeah, he said 640 people in there,
Mhm.
but it didn't feel overwhelming.
Right.
Right? Because I've been in some rooms to where the space is entirely open. Nothing against the used to be Cox Business Center, but it's in such a big box.
Right.
Right. And when you put 600 people or 500 people in there, there's a lot of people. Right. And if you try to put activities or bars or whatever, the traffic flow is also difficult to design in those spaces. Whether it's still functional and still works, gets the job done. But I feel like with the Cattle Barons and the way it was designed and where things were placed and how it functioned, I felt like it was just comfortable. Everything flowed well. And I didn't feel overwhelmed by the number of people there.
Good. Thank you.
Because it felt tight in some spaces where I wanted it to feel tight, like the stall crawl, and then when I wanted it to be open, then there was the dance floor.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we made the dance floor bigger this year just because we knew that we had more people. And, the first year when I did Kinfo, it was so disappointing and I felt so bad for them because people were checking out like right after the event. And I keep it really streamlined. So like, from the time that we start with the program to the time that the live auction is over, it's about 52 minutes because, I'm like, okay, no one wants to be there for an hour and a half listening to people speak at them. I was like, let's share a message. Let's share why we're there because that's why we're there. We're here to raise money for the American Cancer Society and end cancer as we know it for everybody. So I don't want to just come in there and have a party, but I don't want to educate.
It's such a balance.
It is.
I don't know how many galas you've been to or fundraising events, but I assume enough to understand the dynamics of it. And yeah, it's definitely a balance because there's some you go to and you're like, all right, we've been talking for an hour.
Exactly.
When's the auction coming? And sometimes, and also too, it's very important to have an MC or work with a stage manager or whoever, somebody that can control the room. Because that room will get out of control just like this.
Yes.
People get too many drinks in them, they start talking, the room gets really loud, and then trying to control it and move on to the next thing in the event becomes really difficult too.
Right.
So I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think that people were used to kind of the old and bringing in a new audience. That was my thing too, because I marketed a lot to South Tulsa because my roots, I was the chair of the Bixby board, or chamber. So I was able to like reach out to a lot of contacts and bring new people in that way. And so we get some Broken Arrow people since we're out there, not knowing how many people might drive out to 181st or wherever we were for 181 Ranch. Yeah, it was 181st. So had that, but then people were like leaving at 9:00. So our dance floor, we probably had 30 or 40 people, maybe. I was like, okay, I've got to do a better job of saying, hey, book your babysitter longer. Like, plan through 11:00. Like this is a night where you want to come and make a difference, but then have fun too. And so, really sold that. So then last year, and I still had our stage, not last year, the year before was it was like kind of tight. And so people were moving tables and I was like, okay, this is good. So this year I did a stage or a dance floor almost as big as our stage was. And it still wasn't enough. We had overflow. So it was great.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what the Cattle Barons Ball is, can you highlight that for me?
Sure. So it is a national event like Braden was talking about. But it is Oklahoma's right now. We beat Oklahoma City, which we will keep doing that. But it is American Cancer Society's largest fundraiser in Oklahoma. And so what we do, we raise money for ours goes to American Cancer Society for research and funding and things like that. But we also have a paddle raise where that money stays right here in Oklahoma. And that helps people who are battling cancer get to their appointments and their doctor's appointments and things like that, treatments, because we provide gas cards and Ubers and things like that when they can't afford to get to their treatments. And we also provide lodging for hotels and things like that. The money will go to Hope Lodge, some of it too, which is in Oklahoma City, which a lot of people don't understand that Hope Lodge actually benefits Tulsans because you have to be a certain distance away from home to be able to stay at the Hope Lodge. So those are Tulsans. And I have all the stats and the numbers of people who are, around here who are getting to stay there. And when they stay, those numbers honestly floor you. Like it is weeks that they're having to stay because they go down for their treatments and, they're, not well enough to come home. So, the battle for against cancer is a long, long journey. And so having that, in our backyard pretty much, in Oklahoma City, and letting people have a home away from home is so great. So anyway, so we have Cattle Barons Ball, and we bring in a national singer. So we had, like I said, Lone Star last year, Diamond Rio, working on the band this year. Don't quite know who that's going to be, but it'll be someone equally as famous or better. And so we'll have 700 people this year. We sell sponsorships and tables and individual date night packages. So it's a lot of fun.
Is there any misconceptions about these kind of events that you've heard about, or, is there anything that's like, oh, I don't understand why people do these or how they work, or the money doesn't really go where it needs to go? Have you ever heard that kind of stuff? Or
not really about that event. With our event, I don't think that there's any misconceptions.
I don't know if you've heard any. I haven't really.
Yeah.
I feel like people really understand what these fundraising events are and where the money goes and what it's used for.
Right. And I think we're really transparent too about what our cost of spend is. So if I'll say, honestly, when I'm putting on this event, what we write, it's like 12%. So, that's
really,
yes, I keep it as lean as we can totally get it. So 12 to 15%. So
80% or more of that money that's raised from those events, you try to keep the goes.
Yes.
So that's great.
Yes. So it's really good.
So this year, 700 seats, so a few more seats than we did last year. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Is there any, you trying to keep some of the same activities and just do that again this year to keep the expectations, or is there anything that you're trying to innovate and do different?
So I always try to do something new. Try to always have a new twist. So this year we had a old time photo booth, which it was kind of funny. I had a lot of people go, no one's going to be interested in doing that, because they were able. It was almost like the at Silver Dollar City or something where you could put the clothes on and the hats and hold the little guns and take pictures. And so it was so wildly received. I mean, people were still in line whenever the band was singing. I mean, not
to go
even
get their photos over there?
To go get their photos taken. It's crazy. I ended up getting it done right at the very end with a couple of my friends that came and volunteered. So we'll have something different this year just because I like to mix it up. We'll have stall crawl. Stall crawl's the same. We'll have VIP tent. And then I always like to do the entrance, something really cool at the entrance. We usually have 3 bands. We have a VIP band, so it's outside when guests arrive. Then we have a singer or band that plays during the about an hour cocktail hour that we have inside. And then we have our headliner band.
You got lucky with the weather.
I did. I know. And I'm kind of getting nervous. I was thinking about that when I was getting ready today because it's November 21st this year. So that's the date that the expo had for us. So it may be a little cooler, but when I was thinking back too, I mean, we had pretty decent weather through Thanksgiving last year.
Yeah.
So if there is a chance that, it could be bad, we have enough room where we could use those other stalls that are inside to do the VIP staging area. So we can make that be indoor.
Or maybe have some heaters on demand, ready to go, ready to deploy if it is.
I did have them. I always have them on demand. Yes, I do.
And there's been some events I've been to where one event that I was at, they literally dropped from 3 p.m. the afternoon, and by 6 p.m. it was a 30-degree drop.
Yes.
It went to 40s. And it was beautiful and sunny to rainy and cold. Mm-hmm. And there was no heaters. The event was still running. We had to close a little early. But the next day, they brought in heaters for that night. And I was like,
that happened to us 2 years ago when we were 181 because we were going to do the VIP tent. I don't even know what side it was. It was the north side, but we knew that we couldn't because it was going to be open and tented through, so it would be a walkway.
Yeah.
But it was so cold, we ended up having to move the tent all the way around to be on the south side just to adverse the wind.
So one last thing on the Cattle Barons thing in relation to businesses. So businesses usually sponsor, or the ones who sponsor, right?
Yes.
What would you say to them, and is the importance of a business being a part of Cattle Barons Ball?
So we desperately, I mean, that's if we didn't have the businesses be a part of it, we couldn't do this. And, there would be no reason to put on something like this because we wouldn't be raising money. So the end goal is to raise money. My goal this year is to raise $650,000. I bet we could push it to 700. But, one goal, I have to have a title sponsor this year. Not having a title sponsor is so difficult because you're having to sell 10 $40,000 table, or not $40,000, 10 $5,000 tables to make up that $50,000 sponsorship. So it's very, very important. And this year is our 20th year. So that's huge. And, it's the fact that you're making a difference. The money is going to where we say the money is going to. And, being that I'm in marketing and have that marketing background, I know how to brand and market your business, so if you come in, that was one of the things with Country Financial, they have been our entertainment sponsor for the past 2 years. And, whenever I went to Channel 6 or Fox 23, I'm able to talk about them and say how they're bringing in Lone Star. They brought in Diamond Rio. So, you are getting mentioned, and, just having that support that you are a part of making a difference in Oklahoma and, affecting cancer patients' lives is huge.
Yeah. Multifaceted benefit,
much.
right? So more than just putting a logo on a flyer or on a sign there, right?
1,000%.
And now I understand too, from like the business perspective, you want to make sure that the brand gets some sort of benefit, right? Usually that comes from exposure or some sort of experience there. Like the business could be a sponsor, get a table, and then also be a part of some sort of, what would you say, like granting an experience or being a part of the story that's impacted from that. Like maybe there's a cancer survivor, right? Where like they were a part of that story and helping that cancer survivor, right? So like the business could still have some additional exposure. There's some other creative things that are more than just placing a logo somewhere, right?
1,000%.
And I think businesses the owners need to have a conversation to figure out like, okay, what's more that we could be involved in than just here's our logo.
Right.
That's kind of like where I'm getting at. And thinking outside the box.
Oh yeah. And that's the big thing about marketing. That was my thing about always thinking outside the box. Don't just say, okay, let me flip through your sponsorship guide and see what I can do. I'm like, can I come up with my own type of thing? So, like Pam Rehabilitation, they came in. I was like, you know what? Let's have you all be our line dancing sponsor. I was like, you're rehabilitating people to be able to walk again and to be able to use their legs or, whatever. But I was like, and they were like, that's fantastic. Yes, we want that. That makes sense. Yeah. So just really making sure that everything makes sense for the businesses that are involved in. Because I don't, I think of it as a two-way street. I want to make you shine, and then I want to raise money for us. Yeah. So yeah. Because then you come back.
Yeah. Is there anything that you'd recommend to somebody that is in your shoes that's just getting started? There's some things that come to mind.
Be unique. Just like I said, if it's, couldn't go to like 181 Ranch. That was perfect for us. If I had not moved us to 181 Ranch, I don't think that we would be where we are. Live the passion, be passionate about it. And just, so when you have volunteers, I do a lot, but night of, you can't do it all by yourself. You have to have volunteers, and your volunteers have to see that you're passionate about it rather than this is just a 9-to-5 job, So if they see that with you, then they're going to buy in and go with you all the way. And so we have great volunteers that have done that. And just, just push yourself. I could have stayed at 181 and just said, okay, let's raise the prices. But I was like, no, we can be bigger. Like my dream for this is honestly, because we have that outdoor stage at the fairgrounds, is to have a Friday night concert. So bring in somebody like, I don't know, Toby Keith, or not Toby Keith. God bless his soul. Oh, who am I thinking of?
Kenny Chesney? I don't know.
Yeah, Kenny Chesney.
Right?
Or Blake Shelton. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Bring in Blake Shelton, have him do a concert, sell a $25 ticket to all of Tulsa, to anybody. Have that, and then have Cattle Barons Ball the next night. So, and then have your, your big sponsorship gala. So I think that would be, that's my direction for the next 3 years, kind of where I want to go. So
that's cool. So taking a little bit of a transition, you talk about speaking boldly and living boldly. Like, what does that mean? how to live boldly and all the things, and kind of having like this energy to that statement. What do you mean by that?
I think living boldly is just constantly always pushing yourself and making yourself be the very best person that you could be. And just not, I don't even know. I mean, I say that, but it's being an example of what you're standing for. But, like with ACS, when people say, I'm only here because of you and I want to volunteer because of you, I think it's because you exude what you stand for, with my kids, I live boldly. Like I'm the biggest champion for my kiddos at basketball or at soccer or, and I'm also cheering on everybody else's kids. It's just because it's buying into what you do with your whole heart and giving all of yourself to that. Not taking crap, honestly, because as a woman, you do have to fight, and starting in banking. Banking is hard for a woman to, be in. And when I started young and they gave me, I was a vice president and had that vice president position and, and getting looked at, I'm like, oh, who does she know? Or who, what does she do? But I earned that position and I worked my tail off for it. And so I think just not ever selling yourself short and just knowing what you stand for and what you believe in too. I mean, because your beliefs are very, very, or should be very present and, known about what you are and who you are.
I said one time about, oh my God, that train is about to leave. Oh my God, that train's about to leave. It's going to come back. It was
your thought
talking about boldly. Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. It's about being stagnant. Okay. So, I don't know if I've heard this or I just kind of turned it into my own thought. Life is kind of like music. It's like a harmony. There's no such thing as balance. Mm-hmm. Balance becomes stagnant, right? If you take two weights and they're the same, you put them on a scale, they eventually stop moving. Mm-hmm. That's boring.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Right? So a lot of times people fall in love with movement and water because there's changes and nothing stays the same. Mm-hmm. Life should be like harmony. And there's ups and downs and there's rhythms. And so kind of leading on to your boldly statement and constantly pushing yourself follows through with like living life to where you're not stagnant. Mm-hmm. Constantly learning something new, pushing yourself in that area of knowledge, pushing yourself in new experiences, right? And a lot of people talk about work-life balance. I'm like, is there a balance? Like, because it should ebb and flow, right? And just like anything else, your relationships, like marriages, I'm learning too, like our marriage ebb and flows throughout the year or throughout years. Our relationship does. Like there's certain weeks or months or days or whatever to where like we're more connected or like we're more distant and like we're more our own person, sort of thing. And we kind of do our own thing for several days. And it's like, oh, hey, you're still here. Right. When was the last time we went on a date? I don't know. It's been like 2 months.
Exactly.
And same thing like with work. Sometimes like work or whatever will have more demands than others throughout the year. But I've always like tried to stay in motion and always try to challenge myself to learn something new.
Yeah.
So I mean, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. It's just, like leave people talking too. I mean, no matter what you do. Like when I did advertising, for Western Sun, I had, it was during the twilight time, like with the fascination. Well, I did my billboards with this guy who kind of looked like a vampire, had these glowy green eyes and stuff. And so people are like, oh my gosh, you're the person with the glowy green eye guy. And I'm like, yeah, that's my billboard. Or I did one with a lightning, like he had lightning all around his head. And so I did my billboards and bus backs. And, my commercials were all about that. Like you could hear the lightning bolt. So, that was always my thing too. Don't only market or don't only be in one place, like be several places. But yeah, don't just do the traditional mom and dad and a puppy and a kid, just use some guy that looks like he's getting struck by lightning, and leave people talking because that gets people's attention and then they'll kind of follow where you are.
Part of living boldly.
That's right.
There's no such thing as bad PR, right?
Nope, not at all. Well,
Trump's a perfect thing of that, right? Like, how did he make that with all his bad PR? How did he get there? Good PR. Like, Whole nother segment.
Whole nother segment. Not Dana's segment.
Not a Dana segment. No, is marketing about attention or building trust?
I think both.
Again, like attention, like bad PR is no such thing. Or is it like, no, we need to build trust, which it's hard to build trust in bad light.
I think it's about finding the need. It's either finding a need or creating a need. So like if I was back to Western Sun, just because I did that so long, I would either find a need, like Braden needs a new car or Braden needs a lower payment. So you're going to fall in one of those boats. So how can I market to you to solve that need? So it's about meeting the people where they have a need and fulfilling that need and helping them out where they are.
What do you think about having a personal brand?
A personal brand?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's huge. Like I said, I walked in and I was Western Sun. I walk in and now people are starting to know me as American Cancer Society, which is great. And I think too that my personal brand is that I'm a workhorse. Everybody says there's like, I've never met anybody who works as hard as you. I mean, and I got that from my dad. My dad was a hard freaking worker. He worked at Ball Foster and the glass plant and I would see him go in early and come. I mean, summers were so hard because it was so hot, and we would take him Gatorade and things like that up there. And, I think, that's just kind of been given to me. I went to private school. We couldn't afford to go to private school. So we cleaned the church that we had the school in. And so, my mom and my dad and my sister and I learned how to vacuum and make the lines when I was 7 years old, and how to get everything ready. But I think by doing that and having your work ethic, like be who you are and what you're known for, that's my legacy too with my, my kids. I work too hard. I do, and it's, I was telling my doctor when I finally made an appointment after like 3 years, like we were kind of talking about, he was like, tell me about your work-life balance. And I kind of laughed at him. And I was like, well, I know. Yeah. I was like, well, I said, it's really good right now. I was like, this is my good time. I was like, and then event season, I was like, it gets kind of bad. He was like, okay, so tell me about your good time. I was like, well, I take the kids to school, then I start working about 8:00. Then I go and pick up the kids around 2:30. I was like, and then I start working till about 5:30 or 6. And then, I do whatever. And I might answer a few emails. I was like, and he was like, Dana, that's a normal day. Like that's like 8 to 9 hours. And I was like, well, yeah, I was like, during event season, I'm working 15 hours a day. Like I work all day, go to bed about 9:00, wake back up at 3:00 in the morning and start all over again. And so, there's a give and take, but I had a goal for Cattle Barons where I wanted it to be. And this is where we are. And that doesn't come without hard work. And so
I'm more of a night owl. My brain fires at midnight.
Yeah.
I can't, I've done the whole waking up at 3:30, 4:00, functioning, going to the gym, whatever, come back, getting work early and then getting the kids off and then getting back to work or whatever that look like. I can't. That's not for me.
Yeah.
But I'd rather be up till midnight or 1 and then crash for 5 or 6 hours and then wake up,
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah. I like to cuddle in. Everybody needs a good cuddle. And so that's like, whenever, you don't see your spouse or whatever, it's like, that's your connection time. And then you can be out and put the kids to bed and stuff. So
our family dynamic is try to get everyone to bed and lights out and stuff like that by 9:00. And then usually by like 9:30, 10:00, that's when I get reconnection time. About an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
We pass out around 11.
Yeah.
So what do you want your kids to say about you?
I want them to say that they know that I was there for them. Like they know if they had a sporting event or if they had an event at school that I was there. And because I think that's so, so important because that's why I wanted to have kids, because I wanted to be there for them in all of their special moments and just to always for them to look up. And, you see some of those videos, like whenever they're scanning the audience for their moms and dads, and I would die not to be in there when they were there. So I'm blessed that this job has allowed me to do that. I mean, yeah, it's hard work and, not the pay that you used to get when, I was in banking, but I'm able to be there for my kids. And, they're getting older, so they don't need me to be there as often. And, next year they will be maybe taking a bus or something like that. But, now I'm able to pick up my kids and to see them smile and to wave. I mean, that's what it's about for me.
Have your kids made an influence on the decisions that you make?
Oh, 100%. So I honestly think like now I'm much more empathetic than I used to be. In the banking world, and especially during that first part when everybody went, community chartered, it was cutthroat. And I always joke, but not really joke, like Tulsa is very, very different than Oklahoma City. Like when we would talk about the credit unions here, I mean, we're all out for blood. Like we wanted to be number one. And Oklahoma City, they're sharing ideas and all that. I was like, why are you sharing?
You felt that way too? You feel that way too?
Oh, 1,000%.
I feel that way about my industry.
Yeah.
Like everyone's out for blood.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no collaboration.
No.
And I hate it.
Yes.
And they'll tell you it's there for collaboration. Then when you try, it's, I will kill you.
Right.
Like, what?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
No, that's 100%.
Okay.
That's why when you were saying that you're having that meeting later on today, I was like, I would love to collaborate with them. And I think that's like having my kids has like, we can all play together in the sandbox, Now, when you get that one kid, you're like, well, let's change parks. But, let's all try to work together.
So almost imagine why not?
Exactly.
Like, why couldn't they be involved at Cattle Barons in somewhere in the spots that's not used?
1,000%.
And then they could cross promote and while still continue to help raise money for Cattle Barons. And then the people who want to go to their event at the other part of the year, Cattle Barons steps in and brings some rodeo picture or, like the staging pictures with all the hats and I don't know, like maybe something that'll help raise money for their thing while still cross promoting Cattle Barons because you guys are still both on the same road against cancer.
Right. Right. I mean, and I even think too, we could do it with Heart. We can do it with other galas. I mean, there's millions of people here. My 700 is not going to take away from your 700 that might come to your event. I mean,
they all feel like that.
Yes. And we don't need to feel that way. So that's
taking
what
my fundraising dollars.
Exactly. But I mean, so that's really what my kids have taught me. And, about, just giving back. I mean, this, working in a true nonprofit, they're always, how much money did you raise today? Because they know what the cancer battle is and what it looks like. And they've seen the pictures, and, I'll look at pictures with them with, kiddos that are fighting or who have lost. My daughter, she's on the Children's Cancer Warrior Committee. So she helps me plan it. She helps plan, what kind of food we're going to have for the kiddos that come. What type of events are we going to do? Face painting, or are we going to do balloon making? So,
cool.
to bring her in on that. And that's what I wanted to do. No one was going to, when I die, they're not going to be like, she was a bad A marketer for banking. Maybe 2 people might say that, but not like she really made a difference in our area, for cancer. Or, to make a difference in our community. So that's what I wanted.
I want to highlight that you can't do this stuff alone.
Oh, yeah.
I've been on some organizations, committees, groups, whatever you want to call them, to where there's 3 people. And I'm like, this is not going to turn out the way it could be with 3 people.
Right.
It is. And I'm one role. You know what I mean? I've been assigned a task. That's my lane, stay in it. And then somebody else is usually in charge, and then they're trying to do the whole thing themselves. It's been very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it from just the outside perspective. I've also tried to do some of that myself without having any help, not because of a control, because there wasn't available help, and it's still difficult. And then I've been in those where there's like 30-some committee members, and they're each assigned with a particular task. You're in charge of power, you're in charge of lighting, you're in charge of the stage stuff, you're in charge of food vendors, you're in charge of the kids zone, you're in charge of whatever it is, you know what I mean? You're in charge of production.
Right.
And it's great. And then like there's committee meeting that we do that I'm on, and everyone comes, and then there's an agenda. It's like A through whatever L or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then each person says basically what their update is. Okay, I've got this covered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, I need to work with you over here on this.
Right.
And oh wait, I'm so glad you said that because I can help contribute on that, and I know somebody for this.
Mm-hmm.
Like the collaboration in those,
And
when you bring good
huge.
people together.
Yeah.
And I've also seen, have you heard the saying, shit rolls downhill?
Right.
Okay, well, positive leadership also does the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and watch it roll uphill.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it affects everybody else. So like when you have a strong leader and someone who is open to collaboration and encourages the collaboration, encourages others' ideas, where it doesn't just have to come from them, then the doors start opening, and you can start to see like them being able to know that they can work with each other and it come to fruition. And of course, like you want to be involved, you want to know, you need to know what's going on as a leader, but not control the communication path is important.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to go through me and then I will talk to them.
Right.
Like go talk to them directly, and then you guys come up with something and just bring it, let me know what you come up with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's funny, GT. So we had a meeting, our kickoff. So GT and Susan Bynum are going to be our chairs this year. So we were talking about bands, and he said, when I was in the mayor's office, I worked with this guy, la, la, la. So finally connected yesterday because we've been playing some phone tag, and he was like super excited. He was like, I know this guy and I know this guy, da, 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 da. And so then he texted me, and then he calls me back, and he was like, okay, don't kill me. He was like, but I reached out to someone who, and I'm going to mess the name up, but it's a new clothing, like country western clothing that started downtown. I think it's like Bar H or something like that. So he was like, I talked to her and she's really interested and we could do a photo shoot there and da-da-da-da. I was like, that's phenomenal. I was like, because we need to do all new pictures next year. I was like, if we could go there. And so then he put us on chat together. And so we're texting back and forth. And I mean, and that's, you have to keep structure because some things get out of control. But if you're like on that type of thing, that's phenomenal. I mean, just in an instant, just making one phone call for a guy that was supposed to like hook me up with some artists that he might know, it just went from 0 to 5 instantly. So it was like, wow, that was amazing. So yeah. And people are so passionate about a cause like that, ACS or, it's just people want to be involved and they just don't know how. And some like, well, I don't really like to sell, but if you could just make connections or do different things like that, then, just the wildfire just spreads and it's awesome to watch.
I've heard Tulsa's very relational.
Yes.
It's a small, big town.
Very much so. Very much so. In a good way and a bad way.
Yeah.
Yes.
It goes both directions.
Yes. This year I'm thanking the Lord that it's in a good way.
Do you have any advice for someone that is moving into Tulsa to try to understand what that's like?
No, I just would advise trying to get involved. Like find something that interests you and be involved. If it's a nonprofit, if it's a school, if things like that. So just once you get involved, I mean, PTO is like that. I mean, and then you'll see your different personalities that you lead to. And, then you can, aspire to be the president of the PTO or, however that works out. But I would just say get involved one way or another, however it is.
What's next for you?
That's a great question. I don't know. Pray about that often. Just looking for direction. I don't know. Right now we're good, planning a great Cattle Barons Ball. I have a goal for us, what we want to hit. And then I don't know, we'll see what doors that God opens for me and my family. My kiddo, basketball is huge for us right now. My oldest actually, he's involved in a new club team, and my big thing with them is, he has a goal. He wants to play in the NBA. I'm like, okay, how do we get there? We don't just go join, your dream team. It's like, we got to take steps. How can I make you the best 7th grade player? And then from there, where do you need to be in high school to be found, from a recruiter? And then how do we make sure that our grades are good so you're not ineligible to play. So, I mean, there's so many steps. So that's kind of, we vision board. And I'm like, okay, we have to take the steps to get to where we're going. And so, he'll get nervous sometimes, and he'll be like, well, what if I'm not getting, like, what if a recruiter doesn't come and see me? I was like, baby, we're not there yet. I was like, we got our other steps. We're trying to get our grades, where we're eligible every week. And then we're trying to make the best games and best plays that we can make, and, is it a new trainer that we need, or, how are we going to get there? So, yeah, that's kind of my thing. Just plug it into my kids, making sure that that was my New Year's resolution, take care of myself. So I've decided I'm going to start giving myself at least an hour a day to, go take a hot bath, or to, eat, go walk, go eat lunch by myself. If I want Thai food, go take yourself to Thai food, Dana, and go watch your silly show that you like to watch. So just doing things like that. So that was my New Year's resolution, and I'm sticking to it so far. So that's good. And then we'll see what the future holds.
What questions do you have for me?
Oh, what questions do I have for you? What made you start this business? Your marketing business.
The marketing stuff, yeah. I had always had a passion for business in general. And I've always done some sort of selling. As a kid, I'd sell candy bars because I wanted a bird. And then I got into donut stands for our neighborhood garage sales. And then the donut stands turned into donuts in the morning and pizzas in the afternoon. I did those for 4 or 5 years or whatever. So like those were a lot of fun. I eventually hired some neighborhood friends for a couple of years. Like, hey, I'll give you 20.
That's awesome.
I'll give you $20 if you help me sell some donuts and pizza, whatever. And then it was then it got competitive. Then I got competitors in the neighborhood, believe it or not. I got people that not just complimented what I did by selling popcorn or popsicles or whatever, but then they also started to sell donuts and pizza. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sell hot dogs and hamburgers.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, well, then how do I get there? I thought I'm 12 years old. Right. I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to let people know where I am? And the whole neighborhood would shut down. Thousands of people would come, and the cops would have to like shut down and traffic control, and like you couldn't drive through the neighborhood because there's so many people.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. This was over in Broken Arrow. And so I'm like, okay, flyers, right? Flyers are easy to make and do that. And then I was like, what about chalk? What if I did arrows and let people know where to go, and I would make donut signs? And so that way they would know where the donuts were, or do pizzas and donuts. And I would chalk parts of the neighborhood to let people know where to go. That is
awesome.
And so stuff like that was fun. And then Grandpa was a big inspiration in business in general. So I carried on a product from his when he passed away in 2009, and carried that on until a little bit, probably a year after, probably 2021, 2022. So just until five-ish years ago. Patent expired at some point. Product was at that point, a little bit difficult to still kind of enter into the market. Tried for about 10 years to carry that on. It didn't work. So eventually it closed its doors or whatever, but that was an inspiration. Carried that on for a while. Did sales and marketing for that per se without any other experience. So this is kind of like through high school and college, young adult life too. But my uncle is in marketing. More the logistical side. So for some of these global event companies that would do activations for Coca-Cola, Sabra Hummus, Sephora, Walmart, whatever. I got into work with him after I graduated high school. I got a one-way ticket to New York and a laptop, and stayed with him, worked with his agency, more on the ground floor and in the warehouse. And then for some of the other agencies I worked with some of them were paid, some of them were free, some of them were gig. It was just whatever experience I could crash. That was my 4th or 5th time up there, and I'm like, all right, I know I was going to end up back there at some point in time. I was like, I want to live there just to experience it, and did so for a little bit less than a year. A lot of fun. I helped open 3 Sephora stores in Manhattan, which was fun. I got to be a part of that group.
Yeah.
I got to do some stuff in the warehouse for Coca-Cola and store their stuff and help prepare trucks for a multi-month long activation. So they'd put them all in a truck, and then the truck would travel. I don't know if you know how some of that stuff works. Have you ever
No,
seen
no.
that? No. Okay, so they'll some of these companies, these agencies, they'll warehouse some of the event materials, activation materials, and then they'll load up the trucks, and the trucks will be gone for 6, 8, 9 months, and they won't come back. And they can't come back because you load up a semi, and it's going from New York to California.
Right.
And there's events along the way. You got to make sure it's packed full of the right stuff. And then there's times too, of course, they'll forget something, and then you got to figure out how to overnight it to the event.
Right.
I'm sure maybe you've experienced that.
Oh, yeah.
And then what they'll do is they'll find brand ambassadors, people that live in those cities.
I've seen that.
Pay them $15-$20 an hour or $100 and be like, hey, come wear this shirt. Here's a one sheet to learn about the brand and talk about it. And let's get people to sign up or whatever, right? Then usually you have a brand manager or an activations manager or something that'll fly in for the event and then fly back home or whatever. And then the truck will just go along the way. So I was on the logistical side of that and the planning of it and learning too. Like you have to make sure,
I hit that mic.
Oh, it's okay. You have to make sure that the stuff that goes in the truck hits all the criteria for the activations, but then also the truck can't go through certain counties, cities, or states because of restrictions on weight or materials. Maybe there's batteries in there, and it's for whatever the battery companies, whatever stuff like that. So that was interesting perspectives. And then I did stuff for Famous Footwear too on the ground floor, and so going out and doing some street team stuff. So you put small team out on the street, and you're like, all right, there's a bunch of people out here. We're going to start handing things out. We want people to try on shoes. So you bring a bunch of boxes of shoes. You have people try things on. You give them a coupon. Tell them to go Famous Footwear down the corner or whatever. So anyways, brought that experience back. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is cool. Started kind of my own thing on the side. Had 2 or 3 jobs between then and between when I actually just I had $5,000 and a baby coming in 3 months. And I was like, all right, I'm going to jump ship. And so I jumped ship and did I believe it was right around $250,000 in sales the first year. So it was great.
Nice.
And then started out with trying to do some more of those events. I still worked for some of those companies. So if there was something here or if I could do a little bit of traveling, I would. I did that off and on for many years. Still would if they reached out, if they needed help or something. Sometimes they do. Actually did an activation from McDonald's Corporation, North America. They called me and hired me directly, which was cool.
Nice.
So in 6 weeks, we handed out 20,000 coupons and 30,000 napkins, which resulted in a 6.25% increase in sales for the stores here locally.
Wow.
For more coupons, which was cool.
Nice.
That was for the quarter pounder. So that's why the quarter pounder stayed.
Oh.
Was because part of that. And then they had some other efforts where they did some digital stuff and billboards, but we just did the street team part. So, but they tracked it and everything. So I was like, that was cool. Anyways, it all started out with websites. It evolved from events to social media and the website stuff, digital stuff. And then it moved into advertising and moved into videos. And then now it's I work with a lot of small to medium sized organizations. Usually my sweet spot's between 3 to 15 million revenue, to where if they don't have somebody, great, facilitate that. If they do have somebody, great. I do everything else that they can't do. I need them to give us direction, and then we'll execute it. They're the liaison between the executive team, C-suite owners, and us as the executors. Again, you can't do it all yourself, and so I say I eventually encourage businesses. I'm like, you need to have somebody in house sooner or later, but they're at some point they're going to run out of time or resources.
Right.
And resources could also be knowledge.
Yeah.
It's they don't know how to. And also, if you find somebody that can be creative and understand coding at the same time,
right?
You found a unicorn, baby.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Then they deserve at least 6 figures, right?
Yes.
But even then, they're going to be limited. They're going to need help. And so I kind of bring the team to them and supply that. So
nice.
When I say full service, I've done it all, and so is the other people on my team too. So
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have good people.
That's how evolved.
And you're good.
Yeah. I had a staff of 17.
Wow.
In fall of 24. And then last year reduced it down to 7. And that's what we're at now. And revenue hasn't changed.
Yeah. That's good.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the whole political stuff and economics happening last year, nobody moved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you felt that.
Yeah.
But not very many people wanted to make a decision.
Right. And it was hard. The first 6 months of the year was extremely hard.
You feel that too?
Oh, yes.
Okay, yeah.
It was very hard.
I didn't close anything.
Yeah.
Months.
Mm-hmm. Like our golf tournament, we did great, but it like the live auction, we usually sell these trips that we have to South Africa.
Yeah.
And like nobody was buying them. I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, Dana, it's the economic climate. I mean, and then, Cattle Barons rolled around and we sold tons.
Yeah, it fired off in the fall.
Higher money too. So, I mean, it just kind of had to take a sit and wait, and everybody, felt more comfortable after summer. Yeah. So, that's when we saw everything come back to life.
And when people don't know if something's going to go good or bad, they don't make any decisions, which is worse than knowing things are going to go bad. Because at least then there's a decision and a direction to go, right?
Right. Yeah.
So then they just stay stagnant. And you understand too, in marketing, that's the first budget to be cut.
Oh, 1,000%.
And it's the last budget to even consider.
It's the most ridiculous one to cut whenever you're going bad, because you need to build so you can grow and then have your baseline and then worry about cutting up, which you shouldn't cut. I know. Oh, I lived it. And they're like, oh, how can you prove that worked? I'm like, give me a break. Like,
just wait 6 months.
Exactly.
Don't change anything. Wait 6 months and watch.
Exactly.
Everyone else is going to cut their budgets, but you keep yours. Keep your billboards. Keep your radio spots. Keep your posts. Don't stop posting.
Exactly.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because when you do tuck your tail and run too, then you look like you're one of the ones that's failing. So don't do that. Stay strong, absorb the cost, and then see what happens. I mean, but let it play out, because it usually will play out. I mean, that's how it ends up.
What else you got for me?
I don't know. Why'd you choose this location?
Here? Well, I liked the central.
Yeah, it's good.
So this office space, and it was the only thing that was available. So the last office that we had had continual flooding issues, which is kind of a problem.
Yeah. This is a good spot.
Yeah. So this is the same price as our last office.
Nice.
Double the amount of square foot.
Nice.
So I'm like, I'm down. So brought in a couple other friends down the hall. So I'm in a business perspective, I just lease those out. That's good. Have my IT here.
Perfect.
He's right at the front.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, who came into the office?
That's what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
I'm excited for the Cattle Barons Ball this year.
Me too.
It'll be fun.
Me too. Golf is going to be fantastic. We'll sell that out too. So that is August 24th. We moved it. We had it in August the first year, super hot, but then we moved it to May, and then everybody was like, move it back to August. So, I mean, we make do. We have, drink stops along the way, and, I don't overfill. I usually have it around 20 to 25 teams. So we're not double stacked on every hole. So, I mean, there is good pace of play, and it's fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll plan something for End Whiskey here soon.
Yes.
And then, we'll plan for a meeting with Cattle Barons here soon. So I think you had something you wanted to set up too with entertainment. So we need to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
You had a calendar invite at one point. And I was going to be
so we're going to have a kickoff. So I've been waiting for the Bynums to write back, and they just both wrote back. So we'll get that on the calendar. So we'll have our kickoff. So that'll be when we bring everybody in who's like our committee members and the chairs and like top sponsors, talk about the events that we have, and then we'll go forth and sell and make our mission move. Ooh, that was good. Make our mission
Tagline.
move. Yes.
All right. So if someone needs to get in touch with you, how do they do that, and why would they need to do that?
Sure. So email me at dana.harris@cancer.org. And you could call me for sponsorships. You could call me if you would like to volunteer, be on a committee member, or be on a committee. And, we also have our Children's Cancer Warrior Party. We're moving that this year to Andy B's, which I am super excited about. Andy and Melissa reached out to me. And so I've actually been trying to get them for a couple of years. And she was like, Dana, I think this year is our year. She goes, we're doing some big movement, and they did some construction. If you haven't been in there, go check it out. It is fantastic. So like when you walk in to Andy B's, I always thought it was just like the bowling alley and you could see that one that was kind of over by itself by the private side. No, they have a huge, I forget how many square foot, but they've added a new bar. There's like seats, there's games. It is fantastic. The lighting is phenomenal. So they're going to close on a Sunday morning for us to come in and have our events with the families and the kiddos. And so that is, I think it's September the 20th. And so I'll need volunteers for that. But yeah, we need sponsors and, just help us make our mission move.
Cool. I love it. Another tagline.
Yeah. Make our mission move.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you. You're great.